We're one day closer to opening day, and the outfield situation continues to be murky. Cam Smith takes center field. Let's discuss it right now.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We are Locked On Astros podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen. Go and subscribe to us on YouTube and go ahead and help us get to 16,000 subscribers. And go and join the Everydayers Club, where you can join for free for just all you have to use is the promo code SPRING. And in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about something that we talked about this offseason. So everybody that's been tuning in this whole offseason, Brett's been a big proponent of Cam Smith playing center field, and it happened today. Granted, it was a spring training game, but does it mean something? We'll talk about that. Tatsuya Imai is going to be playing on Thursday. I think I'm a little bit more excited to see him pitch than I am Hunter Brown. And then also Brett is going to unveil his early 26-man roster projection. So go ahead and continue listening and go ahead and subscribe to us. Brett, I missed you yesterday, but the Astros, unfortunately, they tied today's game 6-6 against the Mets. But there's a whole bunch of storylines. But the biggest one I would have to say is Cam Smith, right? Playing center field.
Yeah, Cam Smith. I mean, you had some guys, Lucas Spence, who, friend of the show. I believe you had him on earlier this year for, Locked On, and he got like an RBI single. You had a few things happen, but Cam Smith in center field, I think, is something that's very doable. Now, what does that mean for Jake Meyers? And I think that's the immediate question, because he is your starting center fielder. What I think, though, is more of a focus for this team and for Joe Espada and Dana Brown as a whole is the versatility of these outfielders, because at some point Cam Smith is going to have to step into center field and play. And so you need him used to that different position. I mean, look, he adjusted quite nicely to right field. He was a top 3 Gold Glove nominee in the American League. And you don't do that by luck or because you win a popularity contest. You do that because you've got good stuff, defensively speaking, in the outfield. And so at the end of the day, yes, I absolutely like seeing it, but I don't know that. Look, all the talk is that Jake Meyers has not been dubbed the starting center fielder. Okay, that's fine. But until somebody supplants him, until they name a center fielder, he's your starting center fielder. He hit a career best 290. I don't know that he sustains that a full season, but Cam Smith's opportunities may be as deep as what he does in spring training, because you and I know the results don't necessarily matter in spring training. If you're focused on wins in spring training, you're not focusing on the right thing. If you're focusing on guys getting reps, that's what you need. Guys hitting the ball solid, not necessarily guys getting outs or flying the ball out, but how hard are they hitting? What are they doing when they get on base? So I like Cam Smith in center field. I think it's a good look. He's a tall kid. He is, as Dana Brown called him, an aircraft carrier. I've met him in person. He is every bit of that. And I think he profiles as a mainline center fielder as time goes on. But then again, that also depends on what happens to Jake Meyers. Does he come out on fire in spring, and does he solidify himself in center field and get Cam back in right field where he was all last year?
Yeah, and I do think that, especially with all the competition they have this year, people are out to prove that they deserve it, because this is a competitive roster right now. You have, I don't think the infield, nobody's really earning a spot. Everybody on the infield, they have jobs. It's just a matter of where they're going to play. But the outfield, it's kind of up for grabs. You have Joey Loperfito, who doesn't really have a place to play at the moment, because if the Astros really want to give Cam Smith a chance to play, it's either going to be right field, left field, unless they come up with this other position, which is center field. So I know that Jake Meyers is he kind of broke out a little bit last year in
Yeah.
2025. But nobody's come out and said he is the everyday center fielder. Yes, on paper, likely he's going to be the center fielder. But what if Cam Smith has another spring training like he did? And maybe this was the plan the whole time. Last year, see how he did in right field, kind of give him exposure to the outfield. But with his sprint speed, with his defensive ability, maybe the idea was to always move him to center field eventually. Maybe not in 2025, maybe not at the beginning of the season in 2026. But what you saw today was Cam Smith getting thrown out there. And he said he liked it. Yes, he didn't get a lot of opportunities. He had a line drive right at him, but that's something that you see in right field as well. But it's a different angle. And so when he plays left field, it's going to be a different situation if he ever plays left field. The ball just comes off the bat at different angles.
Yeah, definitely. And in center field, what you're looking for is your center fielder is basically your quarterback. You are the one that guide the right fielder and the left fielder. It's about your communication. It's about where you set up before the pitch. It's about, can you get behind the ball? What is your awareness and your acuity to runners that are on base, whether they're on first, second, or third? I remember back in the days, in the lean years, when Michael Bourne was our center fielder, and I remember Dusty Baker's Cubs sending Aramis Ramirez 2 games in a row, and I believe it wasn't Michael Bourne. It was actually Willie Taveras who threw out 2 guys at home plate from center field 2 games in a row. Those are the things you want. Can he throw strikes from the outfield? Can he get into a groove to where, look, these consistent at bats, if he gets them, whether he's in right field or center field, is he going to be the player you need him to be? Because if Cam Smith is as advertised, he's going to take that next step this year. The league adjusted to him. Now it's on Cam to adjust to the league. He was actually 4th in defensive runs saved in right field. So you wonder about taking that defensive glove away from right, and who do you replace him with? Does that go to then Zach Cole? You're not moving Jake Myers to right. You're not moving Jake Myers to left. I think Jake Myers might be pigeonholed to center field. So it's Jake Myers' position to lose, and it's Cam Smith's job to make his coaches know that he wants to be a starter, whether that's right field or center field.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're going to have a set like outfield, because you're going to have. I talked about it yesterday. Yordan Alvarez. I know that Channel Rome. I haven't had a chance to listen to his podcast, but a lot of people have been talking about the fact that in order to make things work, you're probably going to have Alvarez play a lot of left field. But so you're probably not going to have a set rotation.
Well, the thing is, he's not played more than 54 games in a season, or 56. Okay, well, he's not played that much left field during the season, and I didn't realize how little he had played out there. So maybe making the argument from my perspective that I've been saying all along is get him in left field more and more and more. Maybe that's not the key, because he hasn't ever really done that anyways.
Yeah. So it's going to be probably a lot of analytics. They're going to have who's going to be better against this type of pitcher. It's going to be a ballpark,
matchup driven.
Matchup driven. It's going to be ballpark driven. It's going to be situational driven. Who's going to be on the mound for the Astros. If you're going to have a extreme ground ball pitcher, that would be a perfect time to have Alvarez in there, or possibly somebody that maybe you don't really trust to catch a lot of those fly balls. But I think the Astros do have that trust in their outfielders. So this is about just kind of working on Cam Smith developing, even if it's not for 2026, but it's just kind of making him more valuable. And Espada did mention that they're working with him on pre-pitch setup as the center fielder, being able to communicate with the other outfielders, and just the situational awareness. And his offense will also dictate how much he's going to be on the field, because we all know that he was so dynamic hitting in spring training last year and then kind of fell off. Then he got hot, then kind of fell off again after he hit that rookie wall. So he's going to have to play his way because Jake Myers, I agree. He has earned playing time to start the season. But if he struggles, if he kind of reverts to the old Jake Myers, then you have other options. That's what Dana Brown has done. He has given you options. And Brett, we're going to talk a little bit more about this after this commercial break. But guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert start to finish without the stress of the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work with you to get you every deduction you deserve. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local tax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local and book your appointment today.
Baseball is back, and you can get locked in by joining the Everydayers Club, and you can get the ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. This week only, you can use the code SPRING, SPRING, for a free month. Just go to lockedonastros.supercast or tap in the link in the show notes today. Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go and subscribe to us. Go and make us first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, go and check us out. So I know that last segment we were talking a little bit about Cam Smith, and I think that who's going to be playing where is a little bit fluid at this time. Outside of a certain positions. I see somebody in comments said that move Cam Smith to third base. That's his natural position. He'll do a lot better. I think we have enough third basemen that are trying to find a place to play. So if he's a good outfielder,
we're not trying to make it worse.
We're
trying to solve the problem, not make it worse. This isn't softball. We don't have four outfielders. We don't have a right field or a right center and a left center fielder. Come on, y'all.
Yeah, so I know that the Astros did play a game today. They tied with the Mets 6-6. The Astros did have some hits. They had 9 hits in today's game. You also had, who was on the mound? It was Jason Alexander. If he was making a bid to be the starting pitcher again, it wasn't a great outing. Granted, spring training, but in 2/3 of an inning, he gave up 4 runs and 5 hits with 2 home runs. His ERA is 54, and JP France made appearance as well, 1 1/3 innings. Then you had Tang came in 2 innings, Cosgrove 2 innings, Carlson, who's trying to earn a spot on his roster, 1 inning, and Mancini, who's not Trey Mancini, it's Joey Mancini, pitched 2 innings. So a lot of 2-inning specials in today's game. But this is the reason why I mentioned this. We'll talk about the hitters in a second, is that Tatsuya Imai is actually going to be making his debut on Thursday. And I don't know about you, Brett, but I'm more excited to watch him pitch than I am to see what Hunter Brown will do tomorrow. Because, yes, we know what Hunter Brown is capable of, but we don't know what Imai is going to do against big league pitchers and hitters. And I know that some of them are going to be minor leaguers, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, he had Jose Altuve swinging and missing. He had, some of the best hitters in the Astros lineup that were professionals. I think his stuff's going to play early on. I think as long as he stays in the strike zone, he'll be fine, if I'm being quite honest. But the league, again, will adjust, and you have to just go in there. It's going to be about nerves. It's going to be about getting comfortable, and it's going to be about throwing strikes. There's a great sign at the national side of the ballpark that says nobody cares how hard you threw ball 4. So it's not about velocity. It's not about, this and that. It's about missing bats. It's about getting the ball in the zone and placing it where those bats absolutely miss, pulling the string, getting those bats out in front of the baseball so you're successful. Jason Alexander just wasn't on it. I mean, look, it's funny. There are accounts that will keep track of OPS in spring training, that will keep track of ERA in spring training. And this just isn't the place for that, because it's not about the overall results. It's about, what are the pitch shapes like for Imai? How does he feel after the first inning? Does he go out for a second inning? How does he recover? How does he handle the changes of the game? I don't know if you saw this, but the Yankees in one game challenged 7 calls, won 6 of their 7 challenges. One umpire, the first 3 challenges went against the umpire in a Red Sox game. So they are using this pitch challenge thing like crazy. And the umpires, to me, have got a lot of egg on their face, because there were 2 pitches in this Red Sox game today that the guy called a ball, and they were clearly a strike. I mean, they were right down the middle, but he called them a ball. And so it's going to be fun to see how Imai does this, but he seems to be the guy that's calm, cool, and collect. He seems to be a guy that has a comfort with calling the game, and we'll just have to see. I don't know if you've noticed this, but Yainer Diaz has not been behind the plate. It has been this other catcher that they've brought up, kind of looking at him. Carlos, is it Lopez?
Carlos Perez.
Carlos Perez, thank you.
He's a former Astros prospect.
Right. Yeah.
Traded to the Angels, and so
he's got MLB experience, but he looked good today. He looks good behind the plate. So you kind of wonder how long Diaz is going to be out of getting regular catching position, because he really needs to be in there.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with you, Brett. Yes, I get what you're saying. ERA does not matter in spring training, but if you're trying for somebody, especially like Imai, it does not matter. But if you're trying to make the club, yes, ERA does matter. So if you're somebody like Jason Alexander,
but 1 inning doesn't matter. Just your ERA from 1 inning, it doesn't mean anything. You've got to have several outings.
Well, it's performance. It's so if he gives up 3 runs on 2 home runs and looks terrible and walks everybody, that's a different story. It doesn't matter what his pitches are doing if you're trying to make the club. So
if he does that over the entire spring, but one game doesn't like sink your ship, is what I'm saying. So, but yes, you're right. I mean, the thing is, though, nobody looks at records. Nobody looks at pitching records. They look at where the guy is, because I've seen guys that haven't had great springs, and towards the end of the spring, they kind of shore things up. All I'm saying is, don't hyper focus on the individual achievements of a pitcher or a player in one game. Look at the whole kit and caboodle. Look at everything from start to finish. I promise you, Jason Alexander was not happy. I mean, we had him on the show. He is a student of the game, and he will have a better outing next time he goes out there. He'll look more sharp.
Yeah. So if you want to go and focus a little bit on hitting a little bit today, I know Jeremy Peña is getting ready to go to the World Baseball Classic, but he led off. He had a hit today. You had Cam Smith with 2 walks today. He looks to be a little bit more patient. Loperfito played right field, left field. He was 0 for 3 with strikeout. But the key thing was Nick Allen. He is somebody that's going to be possibly the Mauricio Dubon replacement. He had 2 hits today, and his batting average, granted small sample size, is 500 with a 1167 OPS. And you mentioned him earlier, Carlos Perez was 2 for 2 with a run scored and 2 RBIs. And Salazar also played in this game, and his batting average is 400, batting with the OPS of 900.
I know, but why are we talking about their OPS and their average right now? You know,
because some of these guys are trying to earn jobs.
Yeah, but it's just like the first 2 or 3 games. What I'm saying is, yeah, everybody that hits has got a 500 average right now. I mean, Aaron Judge has already got like 2 or 3 home runs, you know. But what do they do over the long haul? What do they do after sitting for a couple games? Because they're going to sit several days. You know what I'm saying? What do they do when you get deeper into spring when you're actually facing the major league guys and not the AA guys? Because the Astros have had guys on the mound that I've never heard of. The Astros have guys on the mound that I was like, oh, that's right. They signed that guy to a minor league deal. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, I want my hitters to get reps. I want my hitters to look good. I want my hitters to do all that stuff. But the stock I'm putting in them is, how do they do that from game to game? Do they carry it? You know, that's the whole question with Jake Myers this year, Eric, is can he go 290 over a whole season? I don't know. I mean, I hope he can, but we won't know until we see it.
Yeah, so Brett's going to talk about his 26-man roster. I'm going to go and give him my thoughts about it. But I know one guy that's not going to be on it is Michael Conforto, as he signed with the Cubs to a minor league deal. So, guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen.
Workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill sitting open. When the pressure's on, you need to hire the right person for the job. That's where Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed, Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. And no matter what pressure is there, Indeed Sponsored Job helps you get the person that fits the job with skills, with experience, and the location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate hops in. And in the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Go and subscribe to us. Go and join the Everydayers Club. All you have to do is, for a free month, just go and use the promo code SPRING at lockedonastros.supercast.com. And right now, we're going to go ahead and talk about Brett's 26-man roster. It's a little early for me to kind of make my prediction, but I know that Josh Hader and De Los Santos are likely not going to be on that roster because they haven't thrown yet. That is going to be a big issue.
Right.
But Brett, the thing I talked about yesterday on the podcast was especially those two guys out, the Astros don't have a lot of like traditional bullpen arms. They have a lot of starters that could be relievers that could go multiple innings, but could they convert to those traditional relievers? So we can address that as we go, but we don't have to talk about it now. But let's go and talk about your 26-man roster.
Yeah, well, those two guys, I think in my book start out on the IL. So we'll go ahead and start with your 7 relief pitchers that I think will be on the team. And I think Brian Abreu slides into the closer role pretty easily. AJ Blueball and Brian King, I think are guys that are shoe-ins. I think Blueball has a lot of potential to be a spot starter, but will be one of your long innings guys. Stephen Okert, Ting, the new guy from San Fran. I think Ryan Weiss will be in the bullpen, not in the starting rotation, and Bennett Souza. Those will be my 7 relief pitchers. And then my 6-man rotation, okay, is going to be this. And the 6th man I am not sure about, but I have Brown, I have Imai, I have Javier, Burrows, and Arrighetti, my top 5. And then behind them, I have either Jason Alexander, Lance McCullers Jr., or Colton Gordon. I don't know which one of those 3 makes it. Any combination of those, of course, McCullers would have to agree to play in the minor leagues if he was so not chosen to be on this 26-man roster. I don't know that he makes it out of spring. Look, for Lance's sake, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't know until we see what he's got. I don't really see that. Eric, I don't think I'm far off on a lot of these estimates. Of course, it is early. Other guys could show up. There are other guys that are vying for bullpen positions, so we can definitely revisit this. Do you have any major disagreements or challenges to any of those names?
I'm going to go ahead and, especially with the $17.7 million, I think out of spring training, they're going to give the 6th spot to Lance McCullers. They're going to see what he can do. And if he loses that, then he loses that spot.
So what if he totally flubs during spring training? What if
we don't know yet. We're talking about as of right now.
I know. But what I'm saying is if he, right. And that's why I have him with Alexander and Colton Gordon. And maybe you flip Colton Gordon and AJ Blueball. Maybe those two can flip. I'm not sure. But on the offensive side, position players, and I'm not necessarily going to give my batting order, but just guys that I think are going to be out there. Jeremy Peña, Jordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve. I still have Isaac Paredes on this team. Christian Walker, Carlos Correa, Yanner Diaz, Jake Myers, Cam Smith. No surprise there. I think Salazar makes it out as the backup. I think Allen's glove is valuable, and he will be your 5th or 6th outfielder. Infielder. Zach Cole, and I think Joey Loperfito. That right there gives me an even 13-13. That gives you 26-man roster. I think that's how the Astros look going into this season. Now, I may be off on 1 or 2 of the bullpen arms, but I see these guys going in there competing and doing this. I think the 26-man roster, heck, I think the 1 through 9 looks pretty stinking good for this team. And look, I know there's low estimates, and maybe this club only wins 81 games, and maybe that's more the realistic projection. But if they're healthy, and if they go out there and have years that they can have, then you know what? This team can very much get close to 90 wins. Will they win 90 games? I don't know. That might be a stretch right now. We got to see how the year plays out. 162 games, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
The only question at this point would be Diaz. I don't think that there's any worry about him not being ready, but will his bat be ready? That's the only question at this point. Cesar Salazar, I think that the job is his to lose, so he's got to have a good spring training. But the rest of them, unless somebody just wows the Astros at spring training, everybody else is going to make the team that you said. Nick Allen, they went out there and traded for. One guy we did leave off is Pearson. He is making about $1 million, so the Astros will likely give him a chance as well at some point, maybe not out of spring training. But I think there's, like we've been talking about, this is a competition. And I think that there's more competition in pitching than there is in the hitters this year, because pretty much where they play is the question, not if they play. I think most of the hitters are going to be on this roster. It's a question of where they're going to play. That's the only question.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, and you have people. Yeah, and you have people trying to figure out the calculus. There's a guy that goes by the name Astros Josh on X, and he came up with, this is how everybody's going to get equal playing time. And I'm like, look, here's a problem with equal playing time. Number one, it's 162 games. Number two, you have to deal with injuries and rest days. And number three, you have to deal with matchups. Like opening day is probably going to be Yusei Kikuchi, who's a left-hander. That left-hander is going to dictate who's in the lineup. And it may not be necessarily your best player, frontline starter. It's going to be the guy that squares up against left-handers the best, right? And so that's where the equal playing time, this isn't going to be equal for everybody. There are going to be players that get the short end of the stick. The tricky part is Joe Espada navigating this. It seems like it's fine now, and we're all grown men, and we're all for the team. But when it comes down to people getting their playing time cut, we know that Christian Walker voiced his not being happy about being sit out an entire series. That may happen on more than one occasion for some of these guys. If you're talking about putting Paredes at first, you're cutting into Walker's time.
Yeah, and even if you put him at second base, you're cutting into Altuve's time if you don't want him in left field and you don't want Alvarez in left field. So there's just so many question marks. And that's why we all kind of thought that there was going to be a trade at some point. And I know that there's some guy speculating about the Walker for Christian Yelich possibility.
That's actually the same guy, Astros Josh. I was like, I don't know if I like that trade, but whatever.
Well, it's another outfield. Yes, he may not be at the same player he once was, but it would be it would kind of alleviate some of the issues you have with the infield. But I think that it's not
his salary
wise.
But his salary is $26 million.
Yeah, it's gonna be. That's why I said it's
more. So like hey, let's get $20 million off the books and let's bring in 26.
Shifting away from the infield. That's the only trade-off.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm sure you can make it work, but look, at the end of the day, I think this season is going to be a lot more fun and a lot more exciting than a lot of people are letting on. And I do see this team going back to the playoffs. And I'm not just being a homer when I say that. I really think this team has what it takes to get to the playoffs. Health is the key, figuring out the calculus of the lineup.
Yeah, so guys, we're excited about Hunter Brown pitching tomorrow. On tomorrow's show, we'll talk about what Hunter Brown had to say after his start, what the Astros have to say about the whatever's happening. And don't forget that Carlos Correa and Christian Walker and many other Astros are going to be making their debut on Thursday as well. So thank you for making us your first listen. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. And Brett, tell us about the Everydayers Club.
Yeah, definitely. The Everydayers Club is for you. If you want to join it, go to lockedonastros.supercast.com to check it out, and you will get ad-free episodes. You will be a part of the Discord server, and you will get messages if you join the all-access portion of it from Eric and I throughout the season. Look, we're going to continue to dissect this team and see what improvements we as commentators and fans can make. Hopefully Joe Espada listens to us on this show and, goes in there and says, you know what, Brett and Eric said this. Actually, in reality, no, but we love being the most talked about and the most listened to Astros podcast on the planet. Thank y'all. Y'all are part of that success.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.
Go Stros.